Good day, everybody. It is Calxiyn and Hunter here, and today we are talking about the RWBY soundtrack as a whole. So, we have reacted to all of the songs, except for Inside and The Edge, just because those were in the show. And so our reaction to The Edge, I'm pretty sure, is at the end of the RWBY finale, like in that episode. And then Inside, I mean, I guess this version's a little longer than the one that was in the show, but the long version was released as a single, and so we've heard it already. So we did listen to all of the other ones.
So we'll just be talking about ranking the six that
and it's kind of like a review of the soundtrack. I know that that's kind of weird because we've never really done that before. We've only done like overall reviews of the books. However, okay, I want to talk about this though. I also need to pull up because I can't remember what songs were part of Volume 8 and what songs were part of Volume 7, and so I need to pull them up really quick before I say the
your
the wrong
Spotify
one.
account is very RWBY and musical and film score heavy.
Okay, yeah, so Hero, Trust,
fascinating to
Love,
look
Brand
at.
New Day, Get Real, yeah, that was all Volume 7. Okay, so I think in terms of musical diversity of sound, the Volume 7 soundtrack is the best. It doesn't mean that the songs are the best. Like,
It's
it doesn't
just
mean
the
that
most
the songs
diverse.
are the best.
Most
but,
diverse in like the genre and
like, you had Hero,
Mood.
who Caleb Hale sung that one, so that was really cool to get more vocalists. Brand New Day and, like, was very different. Let's Get Real was very different. War was crazy. That was the Aesop song that had, like, 4 different singers. Right, they were all singing together, and War was about like the Team RWBY versus the Aesops. Celebrate was really fun, like a sort of kind of electro swingy vein song. Then you had Until the End, and then you had Fear, and so that's a lot. In terms of the other stuff, though, you had I May Fall acoustic, and then Nevermore, like a remix, and so that was like everything for that soundtrack, and like. It's not that things have gotten worse. I don't want to phrase it as worse because I feel like that people will get mad at me. But like, so Volume 8 had issues, like, in terms of the behind the scenes production of Volume 8 soundtrack.
Yes.
So I'm not gonna blame, I don't know, I find it
circumstance
hard.
happens.
I find it hard to be critical of the Volume 8 soundtrack for that particular specific reason, just because I know that there were issues behind it, but also, like, you kind of wonder if issues are enough to justify when people are paying money for something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, and people may get mad at me, it is unjustifiable for Cinder's 48-second song to be there, and I don't know if it was cheaper than all the other ones.
If
but
Cinder's
still.
48-second song needs to be in there, then Little's song that they
I'm
sing.
building the house.
How's my very first house gonna find my purpose in my best
Like,
house?
I
Should
think,
be on the Volume 9
like,
soundtrack.
The
Consistency,
fact that
Rooster
Cinder's
Teeth.
song was there and not done anymore with was kind of insulting. Like, you know what I mean? To make people pay for the 48-second song that is the same as the one in the show.
Well, if you're buying it on iTunes.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If you're buying, I
streaming
bought
music.
them. If you're streaming it, it's a little different, but I bought them, right? So Volume 8 was a bit of a downgrade for that specific reason. Yeah, and so, like, again, I'm not gonna harp on that too much because I understand there were issues, but it was really disappointing to get Volume 8's soundtrack, and then, like, extra songs that weren't in the show, fine, whatever, I get it, but, like, the fact that people were like, Cinder has a new song, she's gonna get a full song, and it's gonna be great, and then it was not a full song.
Yeah.
Like, the Cinder fans were in shambles, they were so sad. And so, yeah, like, I think that every RWBY soundtrack, like, from Volumes 1 to 6 are strong. But Volume 7 is kind of when we peaked, and Volume 8 was a little disappointing, is how I would sort of, you know,
That's
like,
fair.
for Volumes 1 to 9, things were very, like, samey after a while. And then Volume 7 had all these collaborations with all these other people, and that was really cool. And it also changed the sound of the music. So this is the first one where it's just Casey doing everything alone. Like, not alone, but, like, you know what I mean? So, I feel like that we're at a return to form, but I wouldn't say that it's better still than Volume 7. You know?
Yes,
Like, that's just sort of how I feel about it, because I really like all of the songs except for Trapdoor. Anyway, I like it, not except for Trapdoor.
You just didn't like Trapdoor.
I didn't like Trapdoor as much. I don't know, it was just sort of weird because it just sounded the same, I guess, and I guess you need something that sounds same as more traditional RWBY stuff does, but I feel like that Guide My Way sort of fits into that because it calls back to Red Like Roses. So in terms of like the lineup, I feel like that all of them are super diverse in terms of the like the different like music genre style. I don't like the Ho He's and Worthy, which is gonna make me not want to listen to it, but I'm a hater, so don't worry.
Well, that's the unfortunate thing is that I think of this album, the song I like the most is Worthy.
Yeah.
Like, it's the one that I think I could see myself returning to the most.
See, I think I
would
listen
put that
to
in
the
regular
Edge a
rotation.
lot. Like, I listen to the Edge in my regular rotation because it has that motivational sort of vibe. Not to say that you can't write a song that's sad.
No, the
right?
Edge was...
The Edge was the end credit song where it's like Neo dying and being oh my god, being reborn again. Right? Some people think that's about RWBY too, which it works, but I think it is about Neo. Especially because there's stuff in the Edge that is in Chatterbox, like kind of musically, which is interesting. So I do think the Edge is about Neo, and I do really like the Edge. That's the one that I listen to kind of regularly because it's not like a downer song that's gonna make me sad, but it's also not like super upbeat and happy. It's sort of just a inspirational, like motivational type sounding song. You know what I mean? And like the lyrics are really good. Like it's just all solid all around. So the Edge is the one I listen to the most, right? I think that I'll probably listen to Checkmate the most after this, but I wouldn't say that Checkmate is the best. I don't know if it's Neo bias or if you want to call it Neo brainworms, but I do think Chatterbox is actually the best.
Chatterbox
like,
would be my number 2, I think.
Yeah. Like for me, I mean, you have Bumblebee bias, you have gay people bias, so like, it all comes out in the wash, right? Like,
the gayness comes out in the wash.
No. I just mean like, if I have Neo bias, you have Blake and Yang bias. We all have biases. Is what I'm saying.
That's fair.
So like, I think that Chatterbox though has the most dynamic range from Casey, and it has some very interesting like.
I love the music.
Like
I love the instrumentation. I love how inky and smoky and haunted it sounds. I love the effects on her voice. I love how like metal it is, but how like grimy. Not grimy, but like kind of has this angry rumbling to it.
Yeah.
I really, really dig it. It's up there.
And so I really like that one, but I think that Checkmate is probably the song that, because I like electro swing, won. Like it just it came out of the womb and it won. Like, you know what I mean? So I would say that my favorites are Inside, Checkmate, Chatterbox, and The Edge. Not in that particular order. That's just the order that I am reading them.
I feel like for me, if I had to create like the list of my top 3, it would be Worthy, Chatterbox, and then Guide My Way.
Yeah, I mean, I like
Guide My Way
too. That's
Guide
just
My
like,
Way
that's
is
a
better
6-minute song. Like, you need to sit down.
Trapdoor.
You know?
Yeah, that's true, but I listen to longer songs.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding.
And Quiet was good, but Quiet
is so John specific that I would only listen to it if I was writing John, like, you know what I mean?
As much as I feel like what works is, like, I don't know, because, like, I'll like some artists that have that kind of, like, very low-key, quiet delivery, and I think what works when they do it is that they have, like, barbs sometimes in their lyrics.
Yeah.
Or they have more hooks. I really like how it feels. It feels like being overwhelmed quiet.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful. But it doesn't
have the hook.
But it doesn't have as many hooks as Chatterbox or, in my opinion, Worthy.
I can't even remember Trapdoor's hook anymore. So I know we've been listening to a lot, but at least with Guide My Way, I remember.
Well, like with Quiet, I would put Quiet above. Personally, just because I think it's better at what it's trying to do, I would put it above Trapdoor.
I would put it above Trapdoor too.
I think
Trapdoor's at the bottom. I'm sorry.
Trapdoor's not a bad song.
No, it was just boring. I was bored.
I wouldn't even say it's boring because it has some really nice lyrical barbs. It has that kind of like
the lyrics were good.
It has that kind of self-loathing. It has like that kind of like more of a metal thump. So I should say all these songs I like.
Yeah.
They're
like
all
of
good
them
songs, but
I was bored.
Some are like, oh, I fucking love this, versus like, oh, that's good.
But I was bored by Trapdoor in the sense of like musically, I was kind of like, oh.
One thing I will say, what I like about My Way or Guide My Way versus Trapdoor is that Trapdoor also has like, okay, it starts wubby and then it goes metal and then it has like it exits with a kind of melancholy like piano. So it kind of feels like they wanted to have a song with all these elements, but they could only really do something with the metal stuff, which I liked.
Yeah.
Whereas in Guide My Way, I felt like they did something with everything. They had they had the pianos, and they had a kind of very low-key, melancholic opening.
That's
and then you had
I've definitely noticed. I feel like that now I'm realizing that a is just a piano,
Guitars.
a guitar,
Yeah.
and a drum set, and that kind of disappoints me because there are such variety of instruments in terms of the orchestra, because I'm assuming the orchestra person is using, again, something like Finale or
Well, I think
Syllabus or
with, like-
GarageBand, like where you have the instrument department, but then I don't know. It seems like that doesn't always
But
transfer
I think
over
that
to
Jeff
the lyrical
Williams
music.
was like a rock guy who wanted to
Yeah,
shred.
yeah.
Which is why a lot of Ruby's like early memorable songs are just like, which I like.
Yeah.
You know, I like shredding.
Of course. But yeah, so that's something, just, I don't know. That's something about to note. Like, I was like, oh my god, there's a violin! And then it would disappear as quickly as it came. Like, it couldn't stay long enough, you know what I mean? And so I think that that's just an interesting thing to note about RWBY music is that, yes, like, I feel like that there are more instruments being utilized than in the past, especially mostly in Volume 7 and then Volume 9. However, the instruments, I was like, I don't know, I was still missing some in some of the songs. Like, I was missing more than just guitar, like, even in some of the songs. Now, and that's not to say that a song is automatically better the more instruments that you put in it, but it's, I don't know, like I said, as soon as the violin came in, I was like, ooh, I love a violin, and then it would, like, go away, and we're back at the guitar and stuff again. And so, yeah, I don't know if that's a stupid thing to say. I may try to edit around this a little bit, but as somebody who is
You appreciate
a
the
musical
diversity
theater
of musical
person,
instruments used.
yeah, like, I'm someone who appreciates the diversity of musical instruments in a theater context, and it's only now that I've sort of, like, gotten older and, like, started listening to other, like, popular music, I'm just like, they are not even using fucking...
There's not even a
like,
harpsichord
there's
in
not
this
even
rap
a
song.
drum in this song. It's just all, like, you know, it's just all guitar, whatever.
Which I will say, which is what I think made Worthy so interesting to me, because other than like maybe like one or two strings and a bit of a backbeat, it's mostly just like, and of course the ho-he-ogram, which is what makes the ho-he, ho-he,
Yeah.
ho-he.
Also,
That was a joke.
I'm
It's
sure-
vocals. It's mostly an a cappella song, and I quite liked it.
I'm sure that this has happened before, but am I allowed to be a hater in terms of the synthetic drum beat noise? I don't like that.
You don't like, well, how is it that you love checkmate, but you don't like the synthetic drum beat? 'Cause
No,
that's
like, that's
synthetic
not what
like
I
drum
mean.
machine.
I mean the dubstep, like, thump.
the wub,
the thump, thump stuff.
Okay, well,
I
I'm
don't
not
like
crazy.
that. I
It's
don't know
dubstep,
why.
you know, I'm
like,
not crazy
the
about it
dubstep
either.
stuff, I don't like it, because I guess it is fake. Like, it has to be fake.
Yeah.
Because that's not really something that you find in a live musical environment.
You know, there's a
right?
he-ho-ogram, but there's no wub-wub-agram.
Yeah, I mean, kinda, right? And so, yeah, I don't mind it sparingly, like in how Kingdom Hearts uses that sound sometimes in the openings and whatever, but like when an entire song has that dubstep beat, it annoys the fuck out of me. I don't know why. Anyway, so those were my little things about Muzak.
So top 3 for me is Worthy, then man, we had Worthy, Chatterbox, and then Guide My Way.
I think for me, it's Chatterbox, Checkmate, Inside, and The Edge again.
And I mean, Wing sounded good, but it was also kind of unnecessary.
it was the same. Like,
It was
no
the same.
one needed that. You
Probably
know what
like
I mean?
my least favorite was Trapdoor. I think I still liked it, but I feel like, you know,
Yeah.
it
Like,
meandered a little bit.
I feel
I
like,
didn't quite like it.
again, with Wings,
Lyrics were good.
my problem is the fact that, like, they used to do some very interesting, like, remixes, and, like, this was the only one.
You want the
and it
honky
was
tonk
like,
Wings
what is
remix.
this? Like, you know what I mean? It's just lo-fi. It's the exact same as the original Wings. But a little different. Like, it's not different enough.
Different, I
basically.
mean, yeah,
Like,
different.
it's not as different
It's
enough as
definite-
This
it's-
Will Be the Day.
it's
brought down to
lo-fi.
an acoustic level.
It's
not the
lo-fi,
same.
but it's not like a ballad to lo-fi is not as crazy as like
Yeah.
I don't know, like a boop to lo-fi,
Yeah.
you know, or like
And so,
Neon Rainbow.
I don't know.
to lo-fi.
I don't know if this is the right time to bring this up, but,
God.
like, okay. I love the soundtracks, but I do wonder if there's any possibility that we start getting RWBY music that is not necessarily tied to a specific volume. Because that's something that I thought of while listening to Quiet, is that Quiet is a really good character song for Jean, but it's a character song that, like, only exists in the context of this specific volume. So I do wonder, like, I guess the money would have to justify it, because that's what it all comes down to
Yeah.
at the end of the day. Like, I don't know if Rooster Teeth pays Casey, or if, like, Casey has the license to Rooster Teeth's IP,
And she
then
makes whatever
she
money
makes
she
whatever money she makes.
feel like she
don't
might
know
be
how
commissioned.
it works.
Well, because typically
You
it's
know?
like typically you are paid a certain amount of money
for
the album you produce,
right.
and then
but I don't know if
residuals on
it's
top of
solely
that.
commission. Like I don't know if it's solely commission and residuals, or
You'd hope it was
just
commission and residuals for her pocketbook.
You would hope so, right?
But as we've learned recently by various strikes, residuals, now you can't trust them anymore.
The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I don't know if Rooster Teeth would have to commission something like this from her, or if this is something that she could ask them for permission for, and then they're like, we're not gonna pay you, but if you want to do it and you think you can make the money
You
back,
want to make the
right?
RWBY
Like, you know what I mean? And so
musical.
I don't understand. That's the first thing. I don't understand, so don't take me for this. But the reason why I bring this up is because I think that a RWBY character album that has nothing to do with a specific volume could be very interesting, because it could give the opportunity to explore characters who are not around anymore, or were just, like, I don't know, weren't important enough to get an actual song. Like, you know what I mean? Because, like, Lucius Notori is the Grim Eclipse song.
Yes.
And that's one of the most interesting, at least to me, one of the most interesting and dynamic, like, lyrically it's super interesting, and it's just about Dr. Merlot, who no one gives a fuck, right, about Dr. Merlot, but it's such an interesting song, and it goes so hard, and it was in RWBY fucking Grim Eclipse, right? And so I bring this up just because, like, I don't think Casey's gonna watch this video, but, like, if I had a message, if somebody was like, I'll deliver one message to Rooster Teeth, and you can't make it Fox and Neo
I
related, what
imagine
would
your
you tell
message
them?
would be like a ransom note where you cut the letters out from a magazine and
Like, in terms of, like, the
paste them
soundtrack,
to a paper.
I would really be interested in a character-driven album that Casey writes the music for, but doesn't necessarily need to be related or locked in time to a specific volume.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
It's like, here's the Pure song, here's
like, here's
Blake
the
song, here's
Emerald,
the Yang song,
you
here's the Emerald
know,
song.
like, I don't
Okay.
know, like, just stuff like that, like,
It's like a concept record where each song is a different. Maybe you could have it be like each person depicts a different part of the show. So it's like the Yang story is about Yang in the beginning of Volume 4, where maybe the Blake story is in Volume 6.
because I think mostly everyone has gotten a song. Like, I don't think that anyone's lacking a song, except for Roman Torchwick, but anyway. Like, Cinder has
Shopkeep.
one. Cinder has one. Emerald and Mercury have, I'm
Team
the
Coffee.
one.
Team
Coffee has one, right? So it's not necessarily, no one's lacking, I guess, a song, except for Jean. He was lacking a song for a long time. But
Ilya?
Ilya has Smile.
Oh, right.
So she's taken care of. But I'm just saying, like, I don't even know what you would do
Hazel?
other than Roman
Tyrion?
Torchwick, I guess. But yeah, I don't know what you would. Roman's the only villain who doesn't have a song except for Tyrion and Watts and Hazel. So
Winter?
yeah, Winter doesn't have one. She doesn't have her own mirror. Oscar. I mean, Oscar has the one where he's falling
most of
and
the
Oscar is
Shnees,
talking to
right?
him.
Like Papa Shnee and then...
Yeah, and so
They
I
don't have
feel
them.
like that it would be really interesting to do
Willow.
something like that, and they should really highly consider that, especially because, like, Volume 10 ain't looking too good right now. Like,
Yeah.
it would be nice to have extra RWBY material outside of the RWBY volumes. There just needs to be, cause, I guess. I don't know, there just needs to be, like, a reason.
And I
You
don't
know,
think
like,
that reason is abundantly clear to them.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean?
It would be a cool idea. Is it going to happen? Probably not.
Yeah.
Not unless you get your way.
I forgot what I said. Hold on.
Oh, we're having a stroke. That's long COVID, baby.
Anyway, hold on.
Brain fog.
So, like, I understand that they cost money to make, and so it would have to justify the money made, but I feel like that they should consider that and see if it's a viable idea, because then that way we get kind of RWBY content more than just the volume, and it can be in, like, all year round something is happening in people's minds. You know what I mean? And I think that that would be really interesting for them to do. I don't know if they would have to, again, I don't know if they would have to commission Casey for it, and that's the only thing stopping it from happening. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, Casey, like, this is what I would say to you. If you don't need their permission, don't ask for it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if they don't commission her to make
Lawsuit,
songs-
schmawsuit.
No, I mean, like, if she has the if that's what I'm talking about, like, if she has the license to use RWBY property, if they
feel
have
like-
given her the license to use RWBY as a property,
I feel like they
and she
wouldn't
can
play
make
that fast and
songs,
loose with
I don't
RWBY
know,
as a
I'm just
property.
saying, like, if she has the permission, she should do it, basically, you know?
Fair
Because
enough.
I think that that would be really cool. It just depends on, like, I don't know, every time someone wants to make a song, do they have to call Daddy Rooster Teeth and ask them if they're allowed? Like, I just wonder how this even
Daddy
works, right? Because Casey's band has released an album on their own.
Well, yeah, but that's
as
not
their
Rooster
band,
Teeth
right?
related.
Yeah. And so I know Rooster Teeth would probably want a cut of the money, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know if she needs their
Realistically, if she
approval.
really wanted to, she could write a non-official RWBY. Because really, when you
unofficial
really look
RWBY
at all of these songs, unless you say Red Like Roses or this or that or name
Yeah.
a character, you know, you could write an unofficial RWBY
Right.
album and no
Yeah.
way anyone could. You could. I could. It wouldn't be very good
Right,
if I
of
did
course
it,
we
but
could.
You
But
have.
I have. It's coming. Anyway. And so, yeah, that's the only thing that I walked away from this experience being like, man, I wish they let Casey do things. Like, you know what I mean? Not to say that they're preventing her, but I really think that they should consider putting out more music that is, again, unrelated to specific volumes or like necessary for specific volumes. And most of the characters already have songs, but like, I don't know, like you can have a different song for Penny that's not about her dying. You can have a song or like, you know, a different character song for Penny, or like, I don't know, finish the Cinder song that you started writing. Or like, if we want to get into, you know, character songs for characters that are book only, I guess, like Fox and Coco and Yatsu. Obviously, they're in the show. But like Velvet, I don't know, like if you wanted to have stuff like that for other characters that aren't just caffeine, like, you know, like I think that that could be a very interesting thing that they should consider doing. And they haven't done. So I don't know, I'm just saying. But anyway.
I would love like that song from The Lion King where it's like our trio's down to 2, but it's Ruby and Weiss lamenting that they're the single members of Team
Anyway,
Ruby.
Ruby the musical. But yeah, in conclusion, that whole idea aside, I do think that this is better than the Volume 8 soundtrack, which is most important to be
Yes.
better than the last thing that you did.
Yes.
But it's not
I think
better
it's
than the
very
last
solid.
2 things you did.
Maybe,
So,
but it's very solid nonetheless. I think it's on par with those.
And I think I should say, and maybe I'll edit around this so this is closer to the front. Casey like took over this and like she
Did an
slayed.
excellent
she
job,
left
yeah.
no crumbs.
No,
like, you know what I
amazing
mean?
job.
Like I think it can be like, again, this is like if this video reached Casey somehow, like this is what I would say to her. It can be very daunting to take over something like this, as we're the same age, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
like
wow.
we're the same age, or maybe she's a year younger. So like imagine me doing this. Like you can't. Like it's
No.
crazy. You know what I mean?
It's very
Unless somebody
impre-
gave me a lot of money.
No,
to
she's
get
immensely
organized.
talented and did a really excellent
But
job. here.
and it's even more daunting when it was your dad who was doing, like, you know what I mean? There's
Who
an
did it for years and everyone
yeah,
really
and
liked
everybody
him.
loved
and then,
him.
yeah.
Like, there's a daunting element of family legacy there.
Mhm.
It's not just like, you know, they fired the old guy and they brought you in and you're totally unrelated and so there's nothing, you know what I mean? Because that situation happens a bit more often and it can still be daunting to take over at that point, but it's more daunting to take over when it was your parent that was in charge and now
Yeah.
you're the one who has to live up to the legacy that they left you. And so I think that, like, it can't be understated the fact that, like, Casey had a very large burden to sort of carry and
Yes.
she slayed.
No doubt.
Like, you know
Yeah,
what I
did an
mean?
excellent
And
job.
it came out in August, relatively soon after
Yeah,
the
like, not a
volume,
big wait.
debuted. It was not a big
Which, I
wait.
mean, how daunting it would be to have to make music with such regularity. Like, I understand
Yeah.
how Jeff burned out, just like the demand to...
Right.
Right.
But like they could have taken the whole year and we would have let them, but they released it now. So I
Yeah.
think that's very like
Mhm.
I don't know. It gives
It's
me
impressive.
hope to see that the soundtrack didn't release on December 31st at midnight. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, because it did seem like that there was, again, there's no evidence to suggest this, but it kind of seemed like that there was some sort of contract that meant you must release this album within the year the volume comes out. Like, it kind of seemed like that because I'm pretty sure RWBY Volume 8 literally released, it was New Year's. Like, it was around New Year's. It was like the final day possible.
That would be painful
Right?
and unfortunate.
And so it kind of seemed like that may have been the case on Rooster Teeth's part, that was something that may have been like in this imaginary contract that we're talking about, right? And so like, it's good to see it come out early because you would hope that that means that like they felt confident enough, like they aren't being crunched, because we
Yes.
know from previous experience that they seem to have the whole year. And so now it seems like that like it came out when it came out and it doesn't seem like they were rushed. but they also didn't delay
And you
it to
got a
get more
really good
time.
product at the end of it,
Yeah.
which is one of the benefits of not rushing.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I think that it's still very good.
Yeah, very good
I think
album.
Casey's
quite liked
lyrics
it.
are better than Jeff. I'll say that. I'll throw that out there. Another hot take. I think
And
the
also,
lyrics are
there's the
better.
other guy who is involved.
Oh yeah, but Martin I think is the composer. I don't know if he's the
okay.
lyricist. I think
Okay,
that
Martin Gonzalez.
I think that Casey wrote all the lyrics. I think he's the composer.
Well, it was an
not to
excellent job.
undersell the job of the
Yeah,
composer.
fuck you,
though.
Martin.
Composers are the backbone of musical society. Like you know, as someone who has worked with a composer recently, like I cannot articulate enough how much they like have to, like, in terms of like wanting something changed and not having necessarily, I'm sure Casey does, but for me not necessarily having the musical vocabulary to explain what I want outside of like, can we go like do 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 right here, like, you know what I mean? Like when you're a composer, you are deciphering an ancient language, but the ancient language is the other person you're working with trying to figure out what the fuck they're trying to tell you. You know what I mean? So yes, the composer as well did an amazing job, and it's mostly like, that's something that you can't see the evidence of the process as much as you can like with lyrics, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like the composition, you hear the final product, you don't hear how much it changed and evolved, unless you're like me and commissioned a song and have all the versions of how it sounded before. Anyway, and so yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed our little review
Soiree.
of the soundtrack. These are gonna be like once a day
Yeah, for a
until we're
while.
done for a while. So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed our RWBY soundtrack week, which is what it probably is.
RWBY
And
soundtrack week. I like
we
that.
will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.